The holidays are coming. Find a gift for someone special with jewelry from Blue Nile. Right now, Blue Nile is offering special Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. Save up to 50% on the season's most stunning trends. Blue Nile offers an endless selection of bold gold styles, gemstone jewelry, and classic diamond pieces. And now, for a limited time, get 36 months special financing on minimum purchases of $1,000. Restrictions apply. See BlueNile.com for details. That's BlueNile.com.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Why?
If you have T-Mobile 5G home internet, you might be hearing this
Why?
a lot.
Why?
Every time your internet slows down during the busiest hours.
Why?
Because your network gives priority to cell phone users.
Why?
Good question. Why not switch to Cox Internet with 2 times faster download speeds than T-Mobile 5G home internet during peak hours?
Okay.
Stop the whys and visit cox.com/5G home for details. T-Mobile prioritizes certain T-Mobile phone users over home internet users during times of congestion.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Welcome back to episode 101 with Roland Butcher, where we continued our chat about the Ashes. In part 2, What Next for England, the former international gave his thoughts on the future of Captain Joe Root, coach Chris Silverwood and the team, as well as looking ahead to the white and red ball tours of the Caribbean. As for the future now, in the World Test Championship, looking up, England are now 9th of the 9 test playing nations. Where do England go from here with regard to captain, coach, and who selects the team?
That is a very good question. There's no doubt that something has to be done. Changes have to be made in certain departments. In terms of the captain, it is highly likely that Joe Root will continue. He says he wants to continue, and I wouldn't subscribe to perhaps clearing the decks of everyone at this point in terms of captain, coaches, etc. So let's assume that Joe Root will come to the Caribbean as captain, and obviously Ben Stokes still has to recover fully from injury. So he's out of the equation right now for captain because, he's not fully fit at this stage. He's not back to his best. But obviously he would be the natural choice, I think, going forward to take over from Joe Root. But at this moment, the next tour, I think, Root will continue. I don't see the coaching staff surviving. Silverwood, I can't see him really surviving. And going to the other thing you spoke about was the selection part. I think Ashley Giles made a huge, huge error in dismantling the selection process that you had before. And really, because of that error, he put Silverwood in a position where, at the end of the day, it cost him his job, because I do not believe, honestly, that the head coach of a team should be the main selector. I don't subscribe to that at all. They're two completely different roles. There needs to be a separation. The head selector has to be an impartial guy. That Silverwood is too close to the team. Right? He's coaching these guys on a daily basis. He's in the dressing room. He's interacting with them, and personal things can get in the way. Because if a player is having a problem with Silverwood on a personal level, it could easily, I'm not saying it will, but it could easily affect Silverwood's decision to pick him in the side. So for me, that was a huge mistake Ashley Joyce made, and really The question is, will he pay for that? Pay with his head for that? I really don't believe that it was the best thing to do to put Silverwood, who is a relatively new and inexperienced head coach, because he's only just got the job, and you throw in, the head selector role as well. He was put in an untenable position where something like this was always going to happen with that situation. In a way, I'm very glad that it's happened this quickly, because it gives you the opportunity to reflect and realize that going forward, if you have to remove Silverwood, that you do not put this new coach in the same situation, because he also will be burdened by it, and it will affect him and the team and individuals. And at the end of the day, you'll end up changing coaches again. But as I said, I think Silverwood, because of taking on that role, and he will go, he will lose his job, because going forward, he hasn't really shown, he hasn't got the experience, so he hasn't really shown that with a weakened England team, that he would have the skills and ability to take the team forward and take the individual players forward. So, he will go. Ashley Giles, I guess the decision will be made on him as well. That was his first big decision, and it was a bad one.
You spoke out about the selection process before on this podcast, and it does seem inconceivable that a coach can lead his team into a World Cup, T20 World Cup, while some of the other players are going to Australia for the Ashes, and then he has to switch codes to a different format of the game. Do you think if Silverwood is replaced that we should have a white ball coach and a red ball coach?
I think most definitely. I think the different forms of the game has its own skills, and it requires a certain type of individual to be coaches of those teams. So it may be a finance thing that they want to wrap everything up in one and have one coach to cover all codes. But I'm a firm believer in separation, because the tactics required in T20 cricket is totally different to the tactics required in Test cricket. So someone may be fine for Test cricket because their strategy and thinking is for that game, but devoid of that in T20 cricket, where it calls for a different strategy. And same thing really with 50-over cricket. I would go to the Test coach, T20 coach, 50-over coach. That would be my thinking. The idea of a coach these days doing everything, it really is, it is madness. As you know, in the past, the coach would have to do fitness, he had to do this and whatever. The modern game now, you've got your strength and conditioning coach, you've got your massage therapist, you've got your physiotherapist. Those are all different areas of the game now that the coach doesn't have to bother about. But to have him doing 3 different codes, and I'll give an example. Take this last series in Australia, where you're in a Test series against the number 1 ranked team in the world. You've got an inexperienced side batting and bowling. You're getting hammered, right, in the Test format. You're thinking about how to get out of this thing. But on the other hand, in the back of your mind, you have to be thinking, as soon as this tour finished, I now have a T20 series in the Caribbean. That requires different thinking, different strategy, right? Now, if, for instance, you had a white ball coach, a T20 coach, while the Test series is going on, he would have been strategizing in England with his players and planning and whatever for the white ball series. Instead of having Silverwood think about the test, he's under pressure already, but you're getting hammered one after the other. But you still have to be thinking forward. That is why, for me, I want the separation. So that I'm going to hold you. You are the test coach. I'm holding you accountable for the test results. You're the T20 coach. I'm holding you responsible for the T20 results, not the test results, and also the 50 over. That would be my idea.
And what about the team? Are you suggesting wholesale changes or subtle changes? This was a question from Mark Nunn from Newmarket Cricket Club.
I think you're going to have to make subtle changes. Obviously, this next assignment is a T20 section. England have been playing pretty good T20 over the years, so you've got the basis of a pretty good unit there. Obviously, you've added new additions to that, and obviously people are missing like Butler and people like that. But you've added some new additions to something that is already working. So there's no need for drastic changes in the T20 format because you just finished semi-final of the World Cup. You had one bad game in the T20 World Cup. So there shouldn't be doom and gloom. Really what you should be doing now is to be looking for these young players who've come in to now challenge the guys who are missing. And also that would improve your strength, your squad strength going forward. So that's a good opportunity for these young players. So I don't think there's a lot to change for this T20 series in the Caribbean.
I was thinking more of the test series, though. Should England be persevering with Broad and Anderson? Should we be changing the wicket-keeper? Who's going to be our spin bowler? Who would you open the batting with? Those sort of questions.
Yeah, those are questions they're going to have to answer. And again, if you're playing the next series in England, you will pick a side suited and the players suited for your conditions. So the likes of Broad and Anderson will still figure in the thinking somewhere because that's where they're at their best in their home conditions. So to think of getting rid of those two really makes no sense now when you're playing at home because they thrive in those conditions. So they will be around. You would hope that sometime in the summer you can have Joe Archer back on the park to assist Mark Wood. I mean, that would certainly help him. In England, Robinson is likely to play because, again, his type of conditions. So he's going to get a chance. And, the England young batters over the last couple of years playing in England have had some pretty good success. Pope has scored runs in England. Crawley scored runs in England. Burns. So I think for all the clamour for the changes, I think it's likely to be subtle changes. There cannot be wholesale changes just for the sake of changing the team around.
Who would you go for as the wicketkeeper? I mean, Butler's now going to be out of the West Indies tour because of his finger, but would you foresee next summer Butler coming back, keeping wicket for England, or do you think his time as an England wicketkeeper is over?
Well, he could possibly be on the sideline for the time being, and for me, not so much about his keeping, but it's because of his batting. He really was chosen. They all knew that he was not the best gloveman that they've got in the country, but what they knew about him was that he could be the most destructive batsman in the team. Circumstances dictated that didn't happen for him, so he could find himself out of the side. Now, the next Test series, I mean, you'll tell me whether I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not sure whether England have got an away series before they come to the Caribbean in March.
No, we go sweet. Caribbean is our next Test series, and then next summer we're playing New Zealand India and South Africa next summer in England.
Right. So I would expect that in the Caribbean that there was certainly blood, 2 keepers, another keeper. So I guess the likes of Folks you may see come into the setup, or these days I'm not sure how Bairstow feels about keeping, but could be the backup keeper in the Caribbean, which means you wouldn't have to bring another keeper besides Folks. So I think Butler would, Butler would take a time out now for sure.
But you still think that, say, Broad and Anderson, and are you hopeful? You probably know some information. Are you hopeful that Jofra Archer will come back and play Test cricket?
Well, he's recovering. He saw something from him yesterday. I think he's here in Barbados now, and he's starting to train with the guys. I will speak to him over the next couple of days and find out how that is going, and probably see him on Saturday when the first game starts. But he is here. I'm sure that he will come back. It's just a question of when, whether they rush him back. I don't think they should. I think he should be reintroduced when he's fit and ready, gradually, which means that really when your English summer starts, that he needs to get some cricket. If he's available at the start, he needs to get some cricket on his belt in England before he's recalled to the Test arena, and look to reintroduce him late in the summer. I'm not sure of England's winter schedule next year, but you should have an eye on the winter schedule and just ease him back into the game, because a fit Joe for Archer, he will add to the team. Now, the other guys who get an opportunity to come to the Caribbean really has a chance, like Mahmood and others, to make a case for themselves on a longer term basis. I can't believe they will bring both Anderson and Broad. I would doubt they would want to bring both on this tour. At this moment in time, Anderson probably looks the favourite to come, even though in the Caribbean, his record is not that great in the Caribbean over time. So they will have to take a view on him, whether they believe this time round, based on what he's done in Australia, that he can have an impact in the Caribbean. And Broad, again, they'll have to make something out of that. Do we take Broad? I don't believe they can bring both. I think Robinson will do pretty well here, because he will bowl that nagging length and just keep it there, and we'll get some success, so he will come. It's just a question of whether they go for one of the other younger bowlers. What is the position with people like Stone and
Stone's out for quite a while. Stone is,
right.
Yeah,
right.
But Mahmood's certainly in the T20 squad, isn't he? So how do you think, talking about the West Indies tours now, that we've got the 5 T20s that start in Barbados on Saturday. This podcast will be going out on Sunday. How do you think the T20 series will go?
I would say, even with changes to the side, England really would be favourites, because West Indies have had to make various changes since the World Cup. They've only really played in Pakistan. They played, which they got beaten in Pakistan. So that was 3-0. So really, they now have to regroup. So England are introducing players into the side who may be short of international experience, but they certainly have much more first-class experience than the players that West Indies will be introducing into the team. So those guys have played lots of T20 cricket in England and in other places around the world. So they've still got the nucleus of the team there with, Roy, Morgan, etc., etc. So I would expect that England at this point will start the series as favourites.
I mean, have the West Indies since the T20 World Cup have had a reset? I mean, Chris Gayle won't be playing and Dwayne Bravo's retired.
Yeah, I mean, with those two gone, so obviously Rampal, who played in the World Cup, he's out of there. The same Russell, so they have Hetman. So they've, there are changes there in their setup. So it's opportunities there for the new people. Someone like Kyle Mears, who didn't play in Pakistan because he had COVID in Pakistan. So there's opportunities for people like him to step up now, even though he was on that tour. You've got Favourite Allen's come back now. Brandon King got a couple of scores in Pakistan. So those guys now got to continue where they started and try to put in some good performances in these 5 games, because it's a very busy schedule that West Indies have got between now and, the entire year, not up to the World Cup. I mean, the schedule is quite grueling. So those matches are going to be very important for those players.
Yes, because we mustn't forget there's another T20 World Cup in Australia starting, I think, at the end of October. We've also got the 3-match test series between England and the West Indies, playing in Antigua, Barbados and Grenada. England have only won once in the West Indies, or in the Caribbean, since 1968 in 2004. West Indies will be coming back from a 2-0 series defeat against Sri Lanka away. How do you think the test series will go?
Again, that could be an interesting test series, because England are coming off of a drubbing in Australia, not at this stage knowing what their best 11 will be. West Indies haven't played any test cricket since being beaten by Sri Lanka in those 2 test matches. So they've got to start over again. So I think all in all, you're looking at quite a balanced series between 2 sides who are certainly not at their best. So in the end, it could actually turn out to be quite an exciting and interesting test series that could end up 2-1 to one of the sides. To say which side at this moment in time, I think it would be difficult to call, because both sides are playing some pretty poor cricket.
And are you hoping to do some commentary work when they're playing in Barbados?
Well, yes, but there seems to be some difficulties going on right in the Caribbean at this moment in time, and I will explain some of the difficulties, because the norm is that wherever you are, there's usually, apart from the TV commentary, there's usually radio commentary in these parts. Now, up to today, we have not heard or know that there's going to be any radio commentary in Barbados for these 5 matches. And it could even lead into the test matches as well, which is a very worrying thing for the Caribbean. It is very sad that you've got 5 matches in Barbados. Only people can go to the games who are fully vaccinated. The capacity in the stands has been capped at 50%. So you're going to have a lot of people who want to watch cricket, can't watch cricket for those reasons. They're either not vaccinated or they are vaccinated, but they cannot get tickets. And yet, unless they can get to a television, they cannot listen to the game. And then they will not be able to listen across the region as well. So that is a worrying thought. But that's what's happening. So right now, at this moment, all of us as commentators, we have no idea what is happening on Saturday. So it looks at this moment as if nothing is happening on Saturday for the first game. As I said, Talk Sports doing the radio commentary, but as you know, where that will be done.
Well, that can't be good for the game in the Caribbean and in particular Barbados, where the games are being played. Thank you again, Roland, for giving me a thorough review of the Ashes series and looking towards the future of the England team, the coaching setup, and the West Indies series.
Yes, Stephen, that's a great pleasure. I always like to discuss these things. The Ashes series cost me a lot of very late nights because most nights games were started in certain parts of Australia at midnight, and that was also at the same time when India and South Africa were playing. So when the game finished in the morning in Australia, you turn over and watch India, South Africa. So it cost me a lot of sleep for many, many weeks. And you also had thrown in there New Zealand, Bangladesh as well, which we're watching as well. So it's been a pretty hectic 6 weeks or so of international cricket. And we've got a little bit of a break now, but it's been fun and always a pleasure to come on and talk about those things.
Well, at least you've got the sunny weather to look forward to. We've got frosty mornings here, dark and everything.
Well, at this moment in time, maybe the dark and frosty mornings would help me because, when you finish and you want to sleep and the sun is up, it is not that difficult. It's not that easy. So if it was dark and frosty, I may get sleep in the daytime a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Well, thank you again for joining me.
Pleasure.
Coming up in part 3, the final part of my Ashes chat with Roland, we delved into the world of coaching and the structure of the English game. I never thought we would hear Arsene Wenger mentioned on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you for listening to The Paddock and the Pavilion. You can download the show on Apple Podcasts,
Amazon Music,
SoundCloud, Stitcher and Spotify.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at The Pad and Pad. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.